Hello guys, today we'll be covering a 2009 family film called Little Nicholas. All the relevant links and information for the film will be in the pinned comment below. The movie revolves around a boy named Nicholas, who's a single child. He's a quiet and shy boy who's different from his friends as he has no aim in life. Nicholas's best friend, Alceste, wants to become a minister because he thinks they have a lot of banquets and he likes to eat a lot. Meanwhile, his rich friend Jeffrey wants to work for his father. Since Jeffrey's dad works a lot, a butler looks after the little boy. Clotaire, on the other hand, has a bike and he wants to become a cyclist. He's always dreaming about cycling, and he's at the bottom of the class. He always gets punished or deprived of something. When he gets his report card, he gets deprived of TV and dessert at home. Among Nicholas's classmates, a boy named Oud is the only one who isn't afraid of bad grades. When he grows up, he wants to become a bandit. Meanwhile, Rufus wants to become a police officer like his father. He also likes to imitate other people, for which he always gets in trouble with the school supervisor named Mr. Dubon. The top of Nicholas's class is Ognon, who's not only the teacher's pet, but also a dirty rat. The boys despise him because of his snitching habit, but they can't hit him as he wears glasses. At home, Nicholas's dad mentions that when he was a kid, he wanted to be many things. He says that if he wasn't married to Nicholas's mom, he would have been a soccer, swimming, and cycling champion today. In his free time, he frequently quarrels with his neighbor, Monsieur Bledel. Meanwhile, Nicholas's mom always wanted to be a housewife and a mother. Nicholas feels he doesn't know what he wants to become in life because he has a good life and he doesn't want it to change. One day, one of Nicholas's classmates named Yohim arrives late for class. A peon accompanied him reveals that Yohim is late because his parents welcomed a baby boy last night. After the class, the boys ask Yohim about his little brother. However, Yohim says he's not happy about the situation because the baby is allowed to scream all night. But if Yohim speaks loudly, he's immediately told to keep his voice down. Rufus warns him that the worst is yet to come, and soon his parents might make him share his room with his little brother. On their way home, Yohim reveals to Nicholas that he had no idea the baby was coming. However, he suspected something bad was about to befall when his father started acting really nice to his mother. Later, when Nicholas's dad returns home, he brings a toy sent to him by his boss, Monsieur Mushboom. It turns out Mr. Mushboom always gives Nicholas's dad gifts instead of a promotion. Nicholas's mom and dad often fight over it, but the latter refuses to change jobs. One day, Nicholas's parents start getting along out of nowhere. His dad starts taking out the trash without complaining and feeds his mom breakfast with his own hand. It suddenly strikes Nicholas that his parents' recent behavior is awfully similar to that of Yohim's parents before they welcomed the baby. He rushes to school and tells his friends that his parents are probably about to have a baby. In the next scene, Nicholas's father decides to invite his boss and his wife over for dinner later in the week, hoping to convince him to promote him. Hearing this, Nicholas's mother becomes excited and promises to do her best to impress them. They also mutually decide to send Nicholas away during the dinner. Nicholas returns home from school and eavesdrops on the conversation. He only hears half of it and incorrectly assumes that they want to send him away for good so they can make room for the new baby. The next day, Nicholas tells his friends about his parents' plan. Shocked, they advise Nicholas to kiss up to his parents like Ognon and buy his mother presents. After school, the boys go to a flower shop to buy roses for Nicholas's mother. However, they learn that a bouquet of flowers is way over Nicholas's budget. After some deliberation, they decide to pitch in and help their friend. When Rufus refuses to give his money, Alceste gets into a fight with him. A struggle ensues and the boys end up trashing the flower shop. Nevertheless, Nicholas manages to pick up a rose for his mother. Nicholas's mother loves the flower and takes him to her kiddie party. Desperate to impress her, Nicholas also agrees to wear a suit and entertain the ladies at the party. There, he meets the host's daughter, Marie Edwige, and plays cards with her. It quickly becomes evident that Marie likes to cheat and dominate others. Nevertheless, Nicholas sticks it out to please his mother. The next day, Nicholas and his family go out for a drive. When they take a break, Nicholas locks himself in the car, thinking his parents want to leave him in the forest. Nicholas's parents try to get him to open the door, but without success. Left with no choice, the duo push the car back home. After reaching home, they call a doctor to check up on Nicholas, but the doctor can't find anything wrong with him. As a result, they argue with each other all night. From the conversation, he could tell that his mother didn't want to abandon him, but he nevertheless feels that his dad would persuade her in the end. The next day, Nicholas again meets with his friends and forms a secret gang called the Unbeatables. They decide to meet every day at a vacant lot to discuss their grievances and possibly find a solution. On the same day, the boys learn about the education minister's upcoming visit for which they're to recite a poem. After school, the boys gather for the first gang meeting where they argue over who should get to be the group's leader. Meanwhile, Nicholas's mother changes her mind about inviting Mr. and Mrs. Mushboom over for dinner. Since she feels that Mrs. Mushboom is a modern woman and her life isn't just limited to her family and children, she wouldn't be able to entertain her during dinner. She also complains about not having a nice dress and jewelry for the occasion. Upon hearing her complaints, Nicholas's father promises to take her shopping. Elsewhere, Nicholas acts as the peacemaker and makes everyone a leader. The boys then decide to clean up Nicholas's home to impress his parents and convince them to keep him. After his parents leave, Nicholas and the boys get to work. However, they end up trashing the place. Nicholas loses all hope and decides to run away from home. However, he instantly regrets his decision and returns home. The next day, he tells his friends that he came first, so it's the baby who should leave, not him. He says that he's decided to hide his brother from his parents and raise him in a secret hut. Anya overhears the conversation and threatens to rat them out to the teacher. He offers to forget the conversation if they agree to convince the teacher to choose his idea for the performance for the minister's welcome program. The boys reluctantly agree, and Anya gets to live his fantasy of being a tyrant pirate. The next day, Nicholas's teacher goes away for 3 days, so a substitute teacher, Miss Navarin, takes her place. She asks the class about rivers and punishes Anya for standing up without her permission. Upset, Anya plans revenge on her and purposefully gives her a box of expired chocolates. In the next scene, Jeffrey brings a mini roulette kit to school, hoping to use it to make money and hire a gangster to kidnap Nicholas's brother, but Mr. Dubon sees them and confiscates it. Miss Navarin also falls ill after eating the bad chocolates, and Mr. Dubon assigns Anya the responsibility of the class. Anya tries to boss the class around, but this time, Eudes decides to teach him a good lesson. Meanwhile, Nicholas and his friends sneak out of the class to smuggle the roulette out of Mr. Dubon's office using Clotaire as the bait. The children then camp outside the metro station to attract customers, but they're forced to run away when they lose money on their very first game. Meanwhile, Nicholas's mother prepares dinner for Mr. and Mrs. Mushboom. When the guests arrive, Nicholas's mother ends up messing up, mistaking Mrs. Mushboom for the trash lady. When she realizes her mistake, she profusely apologizes and welcomes the guests inside. Later, Nicholas's mother makes Nicholas say hello to the guests, and he ends up asking for the $500. He also tells Mr. Mushboom that he wants the money to hire a gangster to kidnap his brother. With such a rough start to the night, the get-together goes painfully awkward. Nicholas's mother also has to dump the lobster she'd prepared for dinner and serve them pasta she had made for Nicholas after she learns that her guests are tired of eating lobster with mayonnaise at other people's homes. On the day of the education minister's arrival, Nicholas's school teacher also returns back. Before the minister visits Nicholas's classroom, the teacher instructs the children to keep quiet. Consequently, when the minister visits their class, the children don't respond to him and make him feel awkward. Fortunately, when he asks Clotaire about the river that flows through Paris, he somehow manages to answer correctly, much to the entire class's joy. Meanwhile, Mr. Mushboom ignores Nicholas's father at work, and the latter takes it out on his wife. Elsewhere, Clotaire invites the gang to meet at the vacant lot and tells them a new idea that could make them a lot of money. It's a recipe from a comic book that makes a person strong. They prepare the magic potion with the ingredients shown in the book and sell it to the other children. They give a false demonstration of the power of the magic potion by tying up a heavy weight on one side of an abandoned RV, which any child can easily lift and knock over. As a result, the children quickly gain a lot of customers and earn their target amount. However, their business soon comes to an end when a child gets sick after drinking the potion and his parents come looking for them. Nevertheless, Nicholas and his friends continue their mission and contact a mechanic named Blind Jack, who they mistake for a gangster. Blind Jack asks them about the car that he has to repair, but the boys assume that he's demanding a getaway car for the job. The boys quickly come up with a solution and decide to use Jeffrey's father's car. However, none of the little boys knows how to drive a car, and they end up rolling down a hilly neighborhood. Nicholas's mother, who's taking her driving exam, notices Nicholas and starts to follow them. Their cars pass through Nicholas's father's office and almost run Mr. Mushboom over until Nicholas's father pulls his boss out of the way. This impresses Mr. Mushboom, and he instantly assigns him the responsibility of a big project. Next, a truck starts approaching Nicholas's mother's car from the other side, and they almost collide until she quickly parallel parks the car, saving both her and the examiner's life. Grateful, the examiner promotes her in the exam. Meanwhile, the boy's car finally stops at the bottom of the hill. There they meet Yo-him with his little baby brother. Yo-him is in high spirits, much to his friend's surprise. He says that he loves his brother now, explaining that he was wrong. He mentions that babies are cute and wonderful. This makes Nicholas change his mind about babies, and when he returns home, he asks his parents about his baby brother. When he learns that his mother isn't pregnant, he pleads with his parents for a baby brother. Nicholas's parents are initially hesitant, but they give in to his demands. Some weeks later, his mother announces that she's expecting a child, much to Nicholas's joy. However, 8 months later, Nicholas's mother gives birth to a baby girl instead.